Hi, my name is Nick, and this is a tutorial on Shake3D, a gizmo to create camera shake / object shake based on the depth pass that you might receive from a 3D render or that you can create using AI tools like Depth Anything to create depth maps from live action plates. Then you can create this sort of three-dimensional shake, and depending on how you use the tool, it might look more like a camera shake or an object shake. So let's quickly look at the controls, and if you see, for example, this shot, so I take inspiration from these kind of shots where you can perceive like the foreground moving more in a more violent way than the background. So it's very subtle. It's kind of a tiny parallax created by the shake of the camera in space, created by usually by the camera operator, where you can perceive like foreground objects scaling towards the camera more faster and more prominently than the ones that are possibly at the infinite. So you can also see this effect on the shot. So if you focus on this part of the plate, you can see it's kind of very stable, but if you focus on the upper part, you can see it's shaking more, and it's also like the object is kind of coming to camera and then like outside the field of view, and then the shake comes in again. So it's like a more you can see it down here. You get this sense of kind of a lens distortion shake effect in the objects that are close to the camera. So let's quickly take a look, for example, at some of these plates. So let's say we want to create the effect for these Coca-Cola bottles truck. So the camera is going down. This is a very smooth plate, and the idea is that you are going to create a depth path with Depth Anything. I'm gonna leave the link below for this tool that you can install in Nuke. So with this you can create a depth path that later you're gonna use to create a more three-dimensional camera or object shake. So if we go to the final result, I'm gonna cache this. You can see that we have a mix of camera shake, but also the track is shaking. So it's a very subtle effect, but you can kind of see how different areas have different kind of parallaxing shake. And about the controls, if we go to this area, I have created first of all a overscan, so you have to scale it a little bit, and so you have the depth creation and then an overscan. So here we have a pre-render of that, and if we open the tool, you're gonna see the controls. Basically you can divide this in 4 sections. The first one is to give this overscan. So if we go to the node and the overscan is 0, you're gonna need to increase it to match the original overscan. So if the original overscan reaches this area, if you're here and the overscan by default is 0, you wanna kind of reach that area to match the incoming overscan. Then you're gonna select your depth. Then by clicking the depth preview adjustment, you're gonna adjust the depth. So if you want the 3D shake to not affect the background, you're gonna give a value of 0 to those areas, and you're gonna exclude them from the effect. In this shot, the white point and black point are giving me a good result kind of in these values. Then you might want to blur the depth if you're feeling like your effect is kind of warping the image in a way that you don't want. And if this is not enough, you also have the extra blur mask in case you wanna control the blurring for specific areas in your frame to reduce unwanted warpings in those areas. Then you have this area called 3D Shake microparallax. We're going to disable this. Actually, let's disable everything. And in here you're going to have this yellow cross where kind of the effect is being anchored. So where this cross is in the frame, the more stable the frame will remain. So let me drop a frame hold here, and with the motion blur and 2D shake disabled, let's only preview the microparallax effect, and let's give it a second to update. So you can clearly see what's going on. The anchor is set on the background, which is going to cause the effect to be more prominent in the foreground. So this is kind of similar to what I was showing you about the helicopter and plane shots, where because the camera is being handheld and the situation and where the camera operator is situated is shaking, this is causing the camera to move a few centimeters in space, up, down, back and forth, in all directions, which is creating like this microparallax effect. So the idea is that you can control this effect in the x-axis, and you can control the type of curve that you want to use. It's usually going to be the random one. The wave is how big or small this curve is. The bigger the value here is going to shake more faster. No, I'm sorry, it's going to shake more slower, and the smaller the value, the shake is going to be, it's going to have a high frequency. The same for the y-axis. Then you can also increase the rotation. You're probably going to work a big wave in here and smaller values. And then you have the random curve for another random curve, the values for the scale. So how close or far from the camera the effect is happening. So if I put a 0 in here, the effect is not scaling. If I put a 1, and let's say I go higher in the effect, and you're gonna see how things come closer and far away from the camera. You're never gonna want to do this. That's why this should remain like very subtle. Maybe you can push it a little bit more. And the idea is that once you create kind of an ambient microparallax effect, you're gonna want to add a classic more effect to the entire frame. So now it's kind of, you have a camera shake with a bit of microparallax. So the way you're gonna design this is, I find useful to drop a frame hold, disable everything, and start building the effect parameter by parameter. You don't want to work everything together. You want to do the X first, the Y, the rotation, and the scale. Once you're happy with this, you're going to do the 2D shake. Once you're happy with the 2D shake, you're going to turn off the frame hold, and you're going to watch the shot in movement. Another control you have, if this effect move the framing from what you want, you can do a final adjustment with these controls. These are entire pixels, so it's a position node. The image is not being filtered. Also, all these effects are driving an SD map, and only one filter hit is being applied. Maybe the secondary filter into the image is this motion blur, so you can enable this, and this is going to cause a motion blur based on what you did up here. So also, this is not a concatenation motion blur, this is only one hit of motion blur, and all this transformation are driving this motion blur effect. So if you want to add motion blur, let's drop a crazy value. So you're going to be adding a motion blur, and if the objects close to the camera move faster, you're gonna have more motion blur in this area and not so much in this one. So that's basically it. These are all the controls. You can use this tool in a creative way to do like more creative stuff, like maybe a shot like this. So if we go to our videos here, you can do something more subtle like that, or maybe more violent. So yeah, it's a tool that has its limitations. It's definitely not going to work in certain situations, and in other situations, maybe more creative ones, this might be a solution for some shot that you're working on. And that's it. Hope you find this useful, and until next time.